It is 8 o'clock. It is Tuesday, third Tuesday of August. What is today? The 19th. Aviation Day, if anyone follows the Wright brothers. But that started in 1939. This is what we call DMR TechNet TV, thanks to our good friend Stan, who gave us the name, God, almost 2 years ago for this show. We've done 19 episodes so far, and we're working on episode 20 tonight. Our topic is if you're heading outside your home area, what do you have to do with your radio? Do you have to identify it differently, get permission, anything special you have to do? Because our good friend, and we've got several members of the DMR TechNet team in the audience. I see James, N8TMP, Stan, WB8QJZ, as well as Steve, KC8WXM, who recommended this topic because, oh wait, I just see Rick down there too, 88KN. So Steve recommended this topic because in a couple months, he's going to Scotland. He's going to try and play his bagpipes over there, take his radio with him. So that's why we came up with the newsletter. And we also specifically put information for Steve in this newsletter. But in a nutshell, a couple things to know. DMR isn't like analog FM, where you just tune to a frequency and go. Your access depends on how repeaters, talk groups, and networks are set up in the area you're visiting. Planning ahead saves frustration, but a couple things to keep in mind. Your radio ID, your digital ID stays the same. You don't need to modify that. Understand that local repeaters and talk group have possibly different rules. You may have to reprogram or add zones if you're using them. If you're using a hotspot while traveling, and some radios don't need hotspots, and Steve's going to tell us about that in a little bit. Check for legal licensing agreements. So if you're within the US and say like Stan lives in the Upper Peninsula, travels down to Florida for 9 months of the year, he doesn't need to make any changes to his radio and doing some other things on that one. But you don't need to make any changes at all. Internationally, you may need a reciprocal operating agreement. So if you're in Europe or Central or South America, the US has agreements with them called CEPT, C-E-P-T, letting US hams operate with their US license. And it's also a good idea to take your license with you. Others may require a temporary local license. So always check the ARRL or foreign countries telecom authority before transmitting abroad. And that's a question we want to ask and have you guys answer tonight. If you've been outside the US, and if so, where and what your rules and procedures were. And I know Rick for a while was in Germany. So, and if you're in a foreign country, we just kind of talked about that. But you got to follow the legal call sign rules of the country you're transmitting from. Your DMR ID stays the same, but your voice ID and logging should reflect the correct call sign. So if Steve was going over to Germany, the agreement we have with them is covered, but Steve would then have to transmit as the country code DL/KC8WXM. Monitoring whatever talk group from Berlin, Germany, or Hamburg, Germany, if he's visiting our friend Ralph. And each country has a different code. If you look in the newsletter, in case you guys don't get it, sign up for it. Subscribe at dmrtechnet.net. But if you subscribe to it, you'll see it there on our weekly email list, as well as also if you're on our website, which is pretty cool on that one. So let me just fast forward here. Notes, always carry your FCC license and a printout of the CEPT IRRP agreement. Text when abroad. Many board officials or repeater trustees may ask to see it. And we'll go round robin if you guys have done that in the past. But in the US, continue to use your digital ID, but your voice ID must use the correct prefix call sign. As I said earlier about how Steve would be from Berlin. But Steve, tell us, you are going to Scotland in October. What changes do you have to do when you're over there? And tell us what radio you're taking. And you got to unmute yourself. There we go.
All right. So I have one of these. I don't know if you can see it with my background thing. Sometimes I gotta hold it right like this. You can see my M1KE or mic, and this is a pretty cool device. This has this is a hotspot and a IP WAN device. So it doesn't transmit VHF, UHF. It goes directly to through your hotspot, which is in the device itself, and accesses the talk group. And it's pretty neat little device. So even though I would have that, I think I'd still have to use my prefix for the area I would be in, which would be Mike slash and then my call sign.
That is cool. And instead of taking a radio, hooking up to local repeaters, or taking a radio with a hotspot, you're taking a combination one, your M1KE radio. And I know Stan has one. Alan also has one. I don't remember if Dave has one, but it's relatively new, and Stan is actually a beta tester for it. Stan, who's also a member of the Michigan One DMR TechNet team. Stan, have you traveled outside the US? And if so, have you taken your radios with you? And where did you go? And any special procedures you had to follow?
Well, we have traveled outside the U.S. mainly on cruises, and we've done Western Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, Southern Caribbean. We've done the complete Panama Canal, going uh, leaving from San Diego, and then on back. But I have reluctantly not taken my radio with me. Um, I thought about it and I said, nah, I can play radio anytime, but cruising you can't really do. So I haven't done that. Um, Generally, you don't have any kind of distance. And if you wanted Wi-Fi coverage to be able to get something like a mic going, it gets rather expensive, and it's also rather slow. So I've not taken it. I've been in Canada, but I've not taken a radio in Canada either. So I'm I'm not the adventuresome type uh, like Steve is.
Uh, and speaking of traveling, another of the Michigan One DMR TechNet people, James, N8TMP, just got back from Vegas, and he took his radio with him, didn't have to make any changes. Couple weeks before then, he was up in the Upper Peninsula. Too bad you didn't hook up with Stan, but didn't have to make any changes. But did you notice anything different, James, when you were out in Vegas? James, no audio. And Rick, stand by. James has to kind of reset his Bluetooth headset on that one. Let's see if we can get James through now.
Just a comment here too. It was kind of a strange coincidence because before we were getting started here, our inside lady with Carnival Cruise Lines called and was trying to get us ready to go another cruise. So that was what the background noise was before we got started.
Did you sign up for it, Stan?
Not yet. She didn't have any real deals going right now for where we would like to get back to. So we'll look again in a month or so and see if we can come up with some of those short advance time cruises. You can get some real deals if you can get ready within less than a week. So we've done those before, and we might do it again.
When you're on a boat, you would most likely take a hotspot or your M1KE radio, and or is there cell service on a boat, or how would you use that, Stan?
Well, there is cell service available If you want to sign up for it, it's a IP type of thing, and it's pricey. It's pricey. We'll put it that way. But there are some places that you can go to that are you've got your normal commercial carriers, and it's just a normal call included with your plan. Puerto Rico and St. Thomas are two of those. So you just roll in there, your data works, your phone works, everything else. So you do everything in those ports, or you go and find a place that's got free Wi-Fi, and you eat a meal, they give you free Wi-Fi, so you can do that. But I haven't had the desire to take the radio with me yet.
Okay. James, do we have audio with you now? He's still doing something. While we're waiting for James, Rick, you were over in Germany, is that right, with amateur radio?
Yes, sir. I was DA4AK as a technician.
Now, was that licensed through Germany or through the U.S.?
That was German license. It was a reciprocal license at the time. So I passed my tech license by mail, believe it or not. And I took my FCC license down to the Bundespost, or the post office, basically, and they issued a reciprocal license. So I used their call while I was there. I don't know if I had I think I had the rights. This was a long time ago. This was in early to mid 70s. And I don't know if I could have operated with, well, I didn't want to operate with WA3TUU/DL. And I did talk to a guy from Michigan. I forget his name now. He's WB8 something. And he used his call sign /DL. I think it was DL. The DA on my call meant I was American and basically in the military. So that identified me for several things. The 4 identified me as a technician, so I just had VHF and above. So that was mine. Now I think what I read or studied for the extra license, no, I heard this later. Germany's changed. I think the SEPT agreements have changed. If you want a reciprocal, I believe you have to have an extra class to get it. I think you can operate with, now you guys use prefixes. I always use a suffix. So it was always /, like Stan would be MM if he was on a boat. It was DL in Germany. I'm not sure if it's changed or not. So that's my experience so far. But I had a blast over there on VHF. So now it's a lot different. I have talked to Germans that have come to Ohio, and he said it's no longer. We had 10 repeater frequencies when we were over there. There wasn't digital. And if you had 10 crystals in your radio, everything was crystal controlled. If you had 10 crystals, you could talk anywhere you went in Germany and most of the countries around Germany. So that was quite a unique experience.
That does sound pretty cool on that one. And it says, I put that in the newsletter with a picture. Could have been Steve wearing his kilt and bagpipes, but it says your FCC general class is a SEPT class 2, gives you VHF, HF, and UHF privileges. If you're amateur extra, Rick, I know you are. You are SEPT class 1, same privileges, just a higher class. So good stuff on that one. Welcome everyone. We're getting the show rolling, talking about using your radio outside the US. Steve, let me go back to you real quick before I go to James. Steve, did Ralph identify differently as when he was in the US one on his call sign?
I don't know. I didn't really hear him use it this time, so I'm not sure.
I mean, I didn't hear anything different when I talked to him.
Because I remember a couple years ago when he's here, I thought he had to add like the DL or something like that to his license when he identified himself every 10 minutes. So
I didn't notice anything.
Okay, James, you just got back from Vegas. You didn't have to change anything, but how was
Nope.
it traveling?
Yeah. So what I was about to say is I didn't know about TSA. So I took my radio on carry-on and I printed out my license. And so I had that in with my radio, with my ham and my GMRS. They never questioned it, never said anything about it. So no big deal. I was kind of thought TSA might, question the radio in there, but didn't give it a second thought.
And you didn't have to take your shoes off either.
No.
Dana, it looks like you have to have, you do have to have an extra class because what I'm reading, you have to have a, what is it? You have to have a class 1 license equivalent for the UK, which is an extra class.
Refresh. What is Ralph? DL3 BCB. Is he
Extra.
general? He's extra? Okay. So that's cool. Has anyone else in the audience tonight, have you guys traveled outside the US with your amateur radio equipment? And if so, which country? And did you have to make modifications? I'll bet Dave, N8SBE, is probably one. He travels a lot anyway. Outside the US, Dave?
Pretty much right. When I went to Mexico, it was on business, so I didn't take any radios with me down there. But we've been in Canada recently, and they go with the reciprocal thing. I always take a copy of my license with me in case anybody wants to look at it at the border. And other than that, my favorite thing for when I'm going and going around on DMR visiting is to use my R Finder B1 Plus. It not only will let me use the GPS that's in here to essentially point out local repeaters for me, but I can also do what I have it turned on right now is DMR over IP. So it behaves just like the mic radio. It doesn't use RF, it just uses the internet and talks to the various talk groups and stuff. The other thing too is that I have an app on my phone called DroidStar, and that allows you to do DMR over IP as well, and for that matter, other things, D-Star and Fusion. So there's several different ways to come at this. So, at least in those cases, you don't have to necessarily, have a reciprocal license for anything that doesn't actually do any RF. If it just uses the internet, why you should be okay.
And that's what Steve was talking about, taking the M1KE over there.
Yeah.
Plus, it'll be a lot smaller than having a hotspot and a radio and the charger for the radio. And
well, the other thing I wanted to point out too is that if you're used to using particular frequencies for your hotspot, you better check when you go to Europe or other places if those frequencies are actually available to you.
Yeah. Yeah, like because I think Ralph was talking about that too. Is they have a narrower band for UHF than we have over here.
Interesting. Rick, did you notice anything when you were using Germany? Did anything special like that? And you weren't using a hotspot because they weren't really around back then.
No.
This is multiple years ago.
No, they weren't. Gee whiz. I was mostly enthralled with 2-meter sideband, so I was having a blast with that. But a lot of my friends were on HF. Now, there is no third-party traffic over HF, so I could not outside of the Mars station, I could not go to my neighbor's uh, uh, station, call the States, and get somebody to do a phone patch to my mother. That was not quite legal in Germany. So outside of being in, I think you had to go to the Mars station. You couldn't even call the Mars station over the phone and pass that traffic. So that was a restriction. It was kind of unique to me, but Germany's they had hold a tight control on all the communications. At least then it was much tighter than U.S. And I've just been going through some of the SEPs stuff here onto the ARRL, and there are no novice or tech reciprocal or licenses in SEPT. So you've got to be a general or above. And for the most part, I think it's extra advanced you got to have.
Yeah.
Interesting. And let me see. Who else we got here? John, Robert, Alan, Kirk, another John, and Ron. Have you guys used amateur radio outside the U.S.? Alan says no. Kirk, go ahead.
I've been outside of the U.S., but I have not had an opportunity to take a radio with me. Maybe it'll happen someday, so I'm enjoying listening to what you guys have to say tonight. One thing about what you've said tonight, when James said that he went down to Nevada, is besides getting the radio out of country, what about the battery that's on the radio? Is there any special travel restrictions on just the battery?
I know lithium ion batteries, they're cracking down, and I know a lot of times, it's funny. I won a trip to Mexico back when the Gulf War started. What would that have been? 91, 92, something like that. I forget the year. But you couldn't, I had a Walkman. Sorry, had to take the batteries out. You can't use it on the plane because they were afraid of bad things happening. So that was a restriction. James, did they do any checking with you when you were at the airport?
No, they asked if I had like any battery chargers or this or that, and I'm like, nope. And again, it went through screening, didn't say a word. Now, I don't know if it makes a difference. I have TSA pre-check, but they still goes through the same scanners, but they didn't, neither coming or going. They didn't make a peep about it.
Interesting.
Yep.
Dana, I travel with radios in the fall and in the spring, and the thing is, you can check the radios, put the radios in your checked luggage, take the batteries and put it in your carry-on. It's got to be in the cabin with you. So I've got a briefcase that's awful heavy with an awful lot of batteries in it, but I've never had any problem. They've never questioned anything. They've never even pulled them out of the bag. So that's a good way to do it. Or if you're gonna have a whole bunch, you take one box, then you ship it ground, declare that the batteries are in it, and it goes without any problems.
Fascinating. Stanley, it's funny. My history with flying, because I would have my little Desi, a little Yorkie, as well as my diabetic bag and also my insulin pump. But in LA, the going through the scanners, they zapped my pump, and that was not a fun day. Let's put it that way. But nowadays, if there's scanners, I want to be hand scanned. Doesn't matter where I was just at a concert the other day, had to get hand scanned, and half time they look at me, but boy, it seemed like I had a big X on my forehead. They always wanted to, we're going to scan, we're going to check this, do this, etc. So, let me see. Who would I?
Typically, if your radios had the batteries installed in them, they don't have a problem with it. It's when you're carrying just loose batteries, then they want you to have those with you in the passenger compartment.
And it seems like sometimes those rules change, as well they should, if things like that happen. Thanks, Dave, for sharing that. We have two Johns. John from Texas.
I was going to say there's one other change about the batteries too. You might want to keep in mind. It's not strictly radio related, but who knows? Is they have those smart suitcases now that have built-in chargers and stuff like that. If you can't remove the batteries from those suitcases and carry the batteries separate from the suitcase, even if it's a carry-on suitcase, you have to remove the batteries from that case, and not all of them can be removed. Those cases do not get on a plane. So it may be similar to that for radios also.
Hey, John, finally good to see you in person.
Yeah.
We do trivia Saturday nights, and John's always fun. Except,
It is.
hold on, it's not automatic braking system. It's the anti-lock braking system.
Exactly.
Oh, that was fun. How about John from Texas, KC5LAA? John, have you traveled with your radio at all?
Yeah, I have. It's been several years, but I used to take it every year to Canada, and I just had to use a /VE when I was there in Ontario. That's it. Nothing special.
Yeah, I noticed that all the different territories in Canada, it depends which one you're closest to, and you said it best right there with Ontario, VE3 or something like that. Nova Scotia, Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, Northwest Territories, New Brunswick, Newfoundland or Foundland, or however they pronounce that, Labrador. I'm going to screw this one up. Nunavut, I think, Yukon, and Prince Edward Island. So fascinating on there. Bob, Donald Quack Quack, have you traveled with your radio? And if so, was it outside the country?
Nothing in the last several years by any means, but I do have cousins near London, Ontario, and a number of years ago, I just had the mobile radio in the car, and I didn't bother to take it out like James. I had my license with me and that kind of thing, so that they knew I was at least licensed, but I did not use it too much. And at that time, there was a trucker that was coming through here a lot. He was from the London area. And but I never did touch base with him on the radio there. So I'd used it outside the country, but only in Canada and a long time ago, not anything recent.
Last time I was in Canada, I did before I got into DMR, but I didn't take the radio because I had dad, mom, and my little dog with us. And it was kind of funny. They look at me and, where were you born? You tell them that, okay, go through, keep the line moving. Alan, KD8VJD. Al, you did a lot of traveling with your job previously. Did you ever get outside the U.S.?
Oh, well, I lived and worked in Canada for a couple of years on a work visa. But that was pretty much my outside traveling. I never went to any to Europe or the Far East or anything. Or South America. Just Canada would be the only out of the country. And I lived there for 2 years, but I didn't have my my license done. I wasn't really messing around much with radio at that time. So I was more looking at a lot of rocks and microscope. Anyways, that's about it.
Cool. Ron, stand by. Rick, you just posted something. You want to tell us what that was?
Sorry, I was reading through the ARRL information on SEPT, and they pointed to this public notice from the FCC. So it contains quite the detailed information about who is part of SEPT, and looks like there's like 2 levels. One is for extra and advanced, and the other is for general. And the way I read it, and I could be wrong, I hope I am, Ireland is not part of, well, wait a minute, let me back up.
Ireland's not part of UK.
Pardon me?
Ireland is not part of UK.
Right. Well,
You go to
I'm
Ireland and say you're British, you're going to get beat up.
well, the level for, wait a minute, you're going to Ireland, right?
No, I'm going to
Scotland.
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 Okay. That's part of England or Great
UK.
Britain.
Yep.
Okay. I'm reading things wrong here. Wait, let me see.
I do see on the list, it says Ireland is part of the.
Are you on the
separate-
6101 recommendation?
Yeah, 6101, but there's another
Okay.
one, the TR 610. Oh, wait a minute. TR 6101. Okay, the ones that deal with where's Great Britain? It's not on there. Huh. There's like two lists of countries, one for the
Oh.
Well, they
expert
call it
and-
United Kingdom.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
United Kingdom is part, and it's got participating. Okay. All right.
And it's
Yeah.
it says
So it
England.
well, it gives the generals novice privileges in that area or that country.
Right.
Okay. So I'm not sure what novice privileges there are anymore. If I assume it's VHF,
Yeah.
UHF.
I'm just going to stay off anything that transmits RF. So
All right.
I don't know. They might get you. Who knows? You probably won't be interfering with anybody or causing a problem, so I can get away with it. But technically, for anybody else that's trying to do HF over there, it's you better have an extra or advanced, and you can't get the advanced anymore. So
right.
you need to be an extra.
Would have to, if I wanted to really transmit, I would have to pass my extra exam.
That's the way it sounds.
Hint.
Yeah. Keep it
It
up.
didn't used to be that way, but it is now.
Yeah.
And if you go to Dayton, you can do the test for free. It doesn't cost you anything, Steve. So, Ron, you're right next to Canada. Have you traveled across the border with your radio?
Yes, I have. And I did it actually when I was a kid too. And that was with CB. At that point in time, you had to have the original license from the FCC to show the customs people that it was interesting. And you had to make sure you didn't have a homemade type one or any modifications to yours because they would ask you that. And I was a kid at the time, so they were really asking my father, and he would turn around and say, "Do we have this or whatever?" Because they didn't want to hear anything from me. But anyways, that's there. And then recently, with all the stuff now, it's just wave you right on by. There's no slowdown at all or anything because of the radios.
Dan, when you're traveling on a boat, do you have to declare your radios or do anything, or can you just put them with your bags and operate like a pirate radio ship or something?
I've never had anything question the electronic that I had with me, and I had I had streaming video players and all kinds of stuff. We would bring our own entertainment on board, and never a problem. Never a problem. Now, I haven't been on a cruise for a while now. I don't quite have the mobility that I used to, so I stayed home the last couple of them. But so I don't know if that changed at all. But I don't believe it was a problem.
Interesting. Rick, your hand was up.
Yeah. From the extra exam a couple of years ago, I can even remember some stuff. In order to operate maritime mobile on a boat or on a ship like that, you need to have the captain's permission. Yeah, the captain has to agree. Yep. Now, I'm not sure about VHF, UHF. I would still get his permission and let him know what you're doing, because he's the guy ultimately responsible for the boat. You can, he may let you put up some antennas or, an antenna of whatever and operate HF, but you've got to have his permission, and he's going to ask you to see your license and equipment and all that other fun stuff. But Yeah, a friend of mine has gone on actually amateur radio excursions on a ship with a bunch of his friends. So they had permission and were operating maritime mobile from different places. So that was their experience.
You know, you forced me to go back because I passed my extra a year ago. And that's right, one of the questions. And the captain has to be aware of it. Thanks for jogging my memory on that. So, Dave, how about you when your travels? Do you or are you planning anything traveling outside the US coming up?
Well, we were just over to Cornwall, Ontario, and back a few weeks ago, and I imagine that we'll be doing that again sometime in the future because that's where my my grandson's wife is now living. And so I think that as we get more familiar with going back and forth across the border, I'll probably take my truck with the radio and stuff in it, the HF thing. So it won't let me at that point. It'll be pretty obvious when I go through because I've got a high Q antenna that I put on the bed of the stake bed mount on the truck, and the the clearance is 13 feet 4 inches.
Just watch out for deer.
Yeah.
That's an inside joke with Dave.
Yeah, for sure. And my truck's still in the body shop, but they are actually working on it. So hopefully I may get it back by the end of this week. We'll see.
That would be cool. Yeah, John?
I was just gonna say, I was just thinking about we used to have a local ham, Paul Oz, that used to take people up in his private. He had, like a little Piper Cub type plane. Is there any kind of special requirements? I never got to go for a ride, so I don't know. Is there any kind of special requirements when you're like in a small private plane flying around the metro area?
That's a good question. Does anyone have an answer?
Watch out for military helicopters.
Well, yeah, especially around Detroit.
I'm sorry.
New York City's not good either. I've been up with a small plane with my cousin used to own a flying club, and I used to go up with them quite a bit. And there were no regulations that he ever told me about, and he knew I had the radio. So,
well,
that's interesting question. I'm sorry.
I would definitely sign Air Mobile though.
Yeah, good. You probably have some good range way up there.
Call sign / Air Mobile, and you might want to indicate kind of where you are exactly, because you got a lot of coverage.
Yeah, it's funny that it's a good question, John, because I was just thinking about this. If I'm traveling in my vehicle, I'll give my call sign /M as in mobile.
Yeah.
And that would be kind of /A as in altitude, airplane.
MM is maritime mobile. M is, mobile other ways. Pedestrian mobile would be PM, but I would just say PM if you're on voice. But air mobile is I think the proper way to do it.
Steve, you were on a ship in Petoskey Harbor or something like that. You had your radio with you, didn't you?
What ship?
Well, you were on a ferry or something out in.
Oh no, we were looking at the ferry. We weren't on it.
Oh,
the ferry was up on coming into Petoskey, so it's a sunset cruise. They're operating now, and I can't remember when he said, but they were there waiting for their get everyone on board, and then they go out and look at the sunset and stuff like that. So might do that one of these nights. I was also looking on the rules, and it says when transmitting, the visiting country license holder must use the national call sign preceded by the call sign prefix of the visiting country as indicated in Annex 2 and 4. The call sign prefix and national call sign must be separated by the character / telegraphy or the word stroke telephony. So stroke, not slash.
you better start practicing because you're going to
What's
be
the
in
difference
trouble.
between this? If you say stroke on the radio, is that bad? People think I need 911.
Good question. I don't know on that, but that's kind of fascinating for that one.
I don't know if
So
you say slash, they probably think you're using a sword.
they might boot me out of Scotland.
so Steve, tell us when you're over in Scotland, how are you going to communicate your call sign?
I'm gonna have to do it in Gaelic. And how do you say Gaelic? I'm wearing a skirt. I mean, kilt. It's Fele more. Yeah, the large kilt. No, I don't know. So that would be Mike, stroke, Kilo, Charlie 8, Whiskey, X-ray, Mike.
Very nice. Yeah. In fact, on the newsletter, we tailored it specifically to Scotland on a couple things to help you out on.
But I'm also learning Gaelic, so that should be fun. So Ralph was over and he said, you're working on your CW. So gonna have to get back to my CW stuff. So
you got a lot of plates you're spinning on that one. It does say to a quick checklist for Scotland for Steve. Carry your FCC license with you. Print a copy of the SEPT agreement, helpful if asked by authorities or repeater keepers. Identify as MM/your call sign. Keep your same DMR ID. Update your Wi-Fi network settings on the M1KE radio and use local repeaters or hotspot with proper Talkgroup etiquette.
Yeah. When we go over there, my relatives or Carol's sister and my brother-in-law, they just went to Scotland and they went to Ireland, and they have one of these little like a universal Wi-Fi device for international. So they're going to let us use that, and we just buy the data plan for it, and then we can use it. So we're going to take that, and that's how we're going to hook our phones up, so we don't have to pay any. I think I looked up at AT&T. You can do international plan, but it's like starts out at like $18 a day, and then it's for your next device, it's $12 a day for each and every device. So like it would be like if you got your smartwatch, that's a device. So I'm leaving the smartwatch home. We're taking the phones, but we're only connecting with Wi-Fi, and we'll have to set my mic to use that Wi-Fi spot. So
anyone in the audience have a question for Steve as he heads over to Scotland?
Well, I think going on that list, Dana, you forgot to add that you need to wear underwear under your kilts too.
Yeah, especially if you're renting them, because that's just nasty. Those some of those kilts are up to like $800 for the kilt because they use 8 yards of fabric.
Oh,
and they're wool. The real ones are they make some out of polyviscous, but if you want a kilt, a good one, they're made out of wool, so it's dry clean only, and you're not going to leave skid marks on it. That's just nasty.
Well, my daughter went to Elma, and her friend was in the band, and they wore kilts. And you know the meaning of going true Scot, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like going commando.
I went to Elma on the Sunday, so they had the Highlands festival. That was a couple months ago, and I went there with my friend Tim Bruce. We were gone for the day, so we got there on a Sunday, and it looked pretty dead in the morning because I think everyone stayed up late at night or something. But yeah, we had meat pies there, and we went around, and I had my kilt on, and then talked to my friend into buying a kilt. So it was fun.
Okay, Elma actually has an amateur radio station.
Oh,
and they've got a net that runs, I think, Tuesday, and it's linked into the 442.9 repeater here in Lansing or East Lansing.
okay.
So But yeah, they do have an interesting thing about Elma is you can walk across the campus in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
That isn't MSU.
it was pretty nice there. I mean, once we found it, it's like, well, we found a parking spot Sunday morning. It's like, well, there's like it's like completely empty. We're the second car in the lot. It's like, well, that hasn't started yet, but it got pretty busy later on. But it was nice. It was nice going down there, watching the sheepdog do their job, run around. Those were incredible. Then we watched inside. They were doing the dancing stuff with the sword dance. And I had to point it out. My friend was like, what are they dancing on? This is like 2 cross sabers.
Mhm.
Oh, it was cool.
Kirk,
Or you,
do you have any other questions or comments about using your radio outside the US? He's still muted.
Maybe he went for a break.
Could be.
are you
Rick, I'm
planning
so-
on driving there, Steve?
No, we're going on a group tour. It's Rick Steves'
Oh, okay.
Heart of Scotland tour. It's 8 days. It goes from we're going to leave the 6th of October. We get there the day before the tour leaves, so we're doing something on our own for the first day. We're going to take a train ride from Edinburgh to Inverness, and then we start we get to our hotel. So I paid for 1 extra night for that. So the same hotel we're all going to be at. And then we leave the next day on the 8th. We go from Inverness. We go around the area to the Loch Ness to go see their Nessie. Their little, I guess they have the Loch Ness monster thing you can look at and all that stuff. The tourist traps. And then we go down to we go through Perthshire and Stirling and look at the distilleries, and then go to another place and watch the sheepdogs run around and have someone come out and play bagpipes for us. And I'll have to show them how it's done. And then then we go to St. Andrews and a couple other places. Then we go down to Edinburgh, where we finish up in Edinburgh on the 15th of October. And we get back into the States we get back in Grand Rapids at midnight almost.
Gee. Hey,
One
if
of
you
my-
get if you get a chance to tour the castle in Edinburgh, do it.
Yeah.
Because it is fascinating. And it's probably changed since I've seen it, but it's the history there is just very unique.
That, and then I have plans. I think it's Edinburgh, but there's I don't know if anyone watches the Shaun, or what was it? It was a British comedy movie, Shaun of the Dead or something like that. And then they made another one called The World's End, where they went around. They were trying to go to every bar in London or in Scotland and stuff, and they were trying to end up. The last one was The World's End. It's in Scotland. It's in Edinburgh, and it's when you come up to the wall. It's the last thing before the wall, and it's a bar called The World's End. I got to go to that bar.
Yeah.
That's my part of my thing. I gotta do that. I gotta take a picture of it.
It's his bucket list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
one of my classmates just went to Scotland, and I noticed every picture that I saw of her, she's wearing a winter coat.
Yeah.
He said it was raining, it was cold and windy, and we're
I'm
in
gonna find a nice wool coat, something wool. I have a wool sweater to wear. My daughter gave me a sweater a couple years ago from a ski place, and it's a nice wool thick sweater. So I'm taking that with me.
Yeah, we went to a clothing store downtown Edinburgh where they had wool stuff. I bought a wool sweater. I really couldn't wear it over here, especially in the house or anything, because it was too hot.
Yeah.
The thing was really warm.
Yep.
And you could buy your tartan plaids there and all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a place in Edinburgh that I'm gonna go to, and I might be ordering a nice the vest and the jacket to go with my kilt outfit. So I get that upgraded there.
Uh-huh. Money, money, money.
Oh yeah. Well,
Remember, before you go, you ought to watch National Lampoon's European Vacation to get the tips about what to do.
yeah, what not to do. Yeah. My daughter is getting married, and I have permission to wear my outfit and a kilt during the wedding. So she's getting married next fall. So she's trying to plan it out.
Fun. Who else has a question about using your radio overseas, or an experience, or a comment?
I had an interesting thing about just using the radio on the various lakes around here, because the distance you can get over the water is just unbelievable. Just great.
Years ago, our family took a vacation on a cruise ship in the Caribbean, and I learned something. I took my Radio Shack shortwave radio because I'd like to listen to Voice of America and other things. They were not happy that I was out on the deck at night without them, and they didn't want to hear the static and the noise and everything else. And I was persona non grata on that trip after they discovered that. So, and my girlfriend, she does not like it when I use the radio a lot. Shut the door, noisy. So, but that happens. James, does your wife put up with you when you use the radio? I know you're up in the
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, she comes and yells at me if I'm sitting here and I'll have, my SDRs going, listening to the local police, and she'll turn that down. So yeah, I get yelled at. Absolutely.
My wife just goes upstairs.
Yeah. Stan, you're still married. Apparently Janet doesn't bother her.
Oh, I think she puts up with me. I try to be good and move to another room. Like she's went inside now, and so we're sitting outside after dinner here. But a lot of times I'll go over into the shack in the house, or I'll go in the back bedroom in the RV and leave. But she puts up and she goes to ham radio breakfast. She was to breakfast this morning. She goes to coffee breaks on Thursday, goes to lunch with us on Saturday. So she tolerates me pretty well.
That is good to hear. Does anyone have a spouse that is licensed?
I did, but she's not with us anymore.
Dave?
Way back soon after we got married and we were still living in Huntsville, she went out to go try to get a ham license without telling me. and she was the problem was that at the time the rules were changing for mobile logging. So she came. So one evening she essentially told me that I wasn't legally logging because I wasn't logging all my mobile contacts on 2 meters, and I had to tell her that the rules had changed. So she decided that the people who were teaching the class didn't know what the hell they were doing, and she never went back to class.
Well,
interesting.
That was the end of that. So, yeah. So now, my ham shack's in the basement. She sits upstairs and watches TV. And as long as I don't interfere with the TV, she's cool with it.
I still have my dad used to write stuff on index cards. He sent me a card and he's inside it said CQ, CQ, CQ. This is so-and-so. He goes, I passed my technician class test and I only missed, I think, one question he said on it. So, but we couldn't talk because he's in Michigan. I was in Colorado at the time. Well, who else has something to mention?
I was going to say our friend Vance Casey at RGO, his wife is a ham, and they do check in the nets together quite often.
Oh, really? I did not know that. I've never heard her. I've always heard him.
Right. A lot of times he'll check in for both, or she'll be there and whatnot. But she's another one that attends all the things going on. She was at breakfast this morning, and so we're being tolerated. But she asked the question: how many radios are enough?
Oh,
There's no
And we
answer
all
to that
know the answers for that. We're still working to find that out.
yeah.
Well, Steve actually has a coffee cup with the answer to that one, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
yeah.
Well,
James.
we have a husband and wife team in the Aero Radio Club that are real POTA crazies, and they go out almost every day and do POTA activations all over the state. So
That is good.
yeah,
That is cool. James is working on getting his granddaughter interested in radio so she can be licensed.
She likes talking to you, that's for sure. So
She likes
yes, she
hearing about
does.
Tommy. That's all she likes hearing is Tommy.
Well, yeah, that's true too. So
But get her going.
she does ask me about Tommy. She
Well, tell
will.
her.
I mean, when she comes up here, she'll come and she'll grab my radio here and she'll pretend like she's talking and that stuff. She'll say, "Hi, Dada," Dada, and she'll talk. So, she was laughing at me the one time. She would mock me when I was on my 10 meters going, November 8, Tango Mike Papa. And so she was doing that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was funny.
Radio operator in training.
So Steve, I got a question for you. Does your daughter need a photographer for next year?
Oh, she might. Yeah.
I'd be willing to travel up your way.
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be fun.
I've never photographed anybody in a kilt before.
Yeah. They have right now she's only got seen one place. We're trying to have her look at different places, but this the one she's looked at is in Benton Harbor. So we'll be down there unless we find something closer.
Oh yeah, and use that low angle for the people with the kilt, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's when I'm going to be on the ground shooting up, just for the different angles, So,
but by the way,
hairy leg competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show some leg off.
I'll make sure I bring the zoom lens then, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, James and Bob, KB8DQQ, they do a warm up every Monday night on Brandmeister Talk Group 31266 at 7:00 Eastern time, just chatting about photography.
Yeah, and I had some other stuff on that too, but I didn't get to the questions until we started the TechNet part of it. But for software, you guys were talking about a couple of the software things. I didn't hear what you did last week on that because I wasn't there because I had a meeting with the VFW. But when I do programming, and we had a thing for the language I usually use, I've used for a long time, is PHP, and it has image editing software called Imagic, IMAGICK, and it's almost a command line thing where you can convert an image from sizes and stuff like that, and you can there are all kinds of things like transmogrify and different things that you can do on the image, and to layer them and get watermarks on the image, because we had to do all kinds of this programming when people want to take an image, throw it in, get a watermark on it, or take an image, throw it in from their camera, which has a something that's 6,000 pixels wide, and they want to put it on a web page. Well, if you go to a web page and you have a whole bunch of images that are like 2 to 3 megs a piece, your site's going to be slow no matter what you put it on. So you take and you chop it down, but you don't want to get it all really pixelated or messed up. So you have to scale it down a few times with a certain code. But when you're working on large images, James, and you put them on the web, do you do a simple program to put them up on the web to make them smaller images or something like that? Or
yeah, so what I do, for all my shoots for my proofs, for example, I load everything into Lightroom, and then once I'm done weeding everything out, I don't do any edits. I export them all as a JPEG because I shoot RAW, and I make them a max size of 2 megs. So I keep them at 2 megs just to save space on my site. And then once I'm done and I edit the final ones, I will export in full resolution and put those up on my site also, my gallery site for the user. So,
Right. Yeah, we would, when we were doing the web, 2 megs was just too big for an image. It's like people would scream. It's like, no, you got to have that down to like 50K, They're trying, okay. It's not going to look real good on a big screen, but whatever.
yeah, that's what I tell everybody too.
Mac, you have the designer has this Mac computer, it's a huge screen, and she blow it up. It's like, this is what it looks like. It's like, nobody has a computer that big. Yeah. But nowadays, people have, they look at it on their cell phone. So you have a lot more people nowadays that look at it in tablets and cell phones.
Yeah, well, those restrictions were back when you were using dial-up too. Now that everybody has 100 to 500 gigabyte connections, I mean, it's no longer useful.
Well, yeah, then they start using Google speed tests, and they say, well, unless it needs to be 100% on Google speed tests. Like, well, not with a video playing on the homepage.
Yeah,
it's never going to get there.
Yeah, those guys that speed test all the time, their computers are just weird.
Hey,
they're probably using Windows.
It is past 9 o'clock. Any final thoughts or comments? We can continue this off the air, but any final comments about using your radio overseas?
Just
going once, going twice.
Rules and follow them.
Yeah.
And thanks, Rick, for posting that online. Steve, final thought to you about
so I have all those documents. I have that FCC public notice, the TR 6101, and then I have my license put into a folder right now that I can get to it on my Google Drive. I'm going to make sure those are downloaded on my phone. So if I need those there, I'll also print them out and have that with me if I need it. But I'll look up novice privilege in Scotland and see where that gets me.
Better start taking those tests quickly.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're going to call it a wrap for tonight's DMR TechNet TV. We discussed using your radio outside your home area, specifically in other countries like Scotland. Next month, we're going to be talking about the OpenGD77 firmware, and I've got an email to the developer of the OpenGD77 firmware. Have not heard back from him. I heard he was having some website issues and other issues on that. So maybe we should do a DMR TechNet TV about photography. I think we could go for several hours on that one. Anyway, from the staff and the DMR TechNet team, thank you everyone for watching tonight's DMR TechNet TV. We'll see you on the air.